This is Carol King, the founder and developer of Custom Home Builder Solutions, a job costing and accounting software that is also known as CHS. In this particular video, I'm going to start talking about how maybe we can get rid of some of those file cabinets that are so predominant in home builders' offices, at least from what I remember several years back when I was working as a controller for a custom home builder, digging through those file cabinets to find bills that we'd paid vendors, maybe a subcontract with the vendor, a PO we'd issued the vendor, who knows what in all those file cabinets, maybe certificates of insurance, etc., etc. So now in the day and age of where we can have our software up on the web, we can also provide a service for you to upload and store things like plans, various PDF copies of those bills, etc., and various photos that you take. So I'd like to show you in this video how you can do that, and that then you can get something that's called a small URL that is actually a link to that uploaded document, so that you can easily copy that URL and send it in an email to somebody, maybe a URL to some plans. You can get a URL to some reports, and some of the reports will have the small URLs printed on them, and since they're PDFs, they will be active links to things that are in the reports, like a list of vendor bills that you've posted and you've maybe uploaded a copy of the bill. You can do a report of all the bills and have a short URL in there. So there's incoming things that you can upload, like maybe plans, bids, job contracts, vendor bills, insurance certificates, and really whatever you want. Also, CHS generates and stores various things like purchase orders, change orders, draw requests, and all of these can be found in your CHS file cabinet, and you can search for them by type, like purchase order, or bill from vendor, or bid from vendor, things like that. You could search and search by job, so it's much better than all the digging through file cabinets and ruining all your cuticles trying to dig in those file cabinets. So let's get started and take a look at how CHS handles all of this. Here we are inside CHS getting ready to talk about uploads and the file cabinet that CHS has for you. So right down here in the bottom left hand, you'll see there's something called uploads and file cabinets. First of all, you could click to upload a file or photo, which we're going to do in a minute, or you could open the entire file cabinet, or you could open the plan room that's just for uploaded plans. I'd like to also point out the index. And let's just go ahead and real quickly upload something just to show you uploading and what happens. And I could start typing upload and find it right here and click on this, which would be the same as if I clicked on this down here. So let's do that. So a window has opened, and the very first button you'd like to use is upload photo. I've set up sort of a temporary fake job, and let me navigate to it here in my stuff, called Loveman or Loveman 2, but I think most of my stuff is here. Now maybe the very first thing is you've had some rendering made of the home, and so I have a fake photo I got out on the web of a rendering, so I'm going to double click it, and you'll see a bar going on showing that it's uploading, and that then it will show you the picture that you did upload. Now let's go over here to the right before we come back to the small URL. Notice that it says important. You can change your title to be a unique and meaningful title for the file. And the reason you should do this is when you open the CHS file cabinet, you want it to have something meaningful as the title there. So I called it Rendering Loveman 2, and I included the job code there. And then I'm going to decide whether I want to give it a certain doc type. And I could drop down and see what doc types I currently have set up. And maybe I don't have one for renderings, so I could add a type right here, very easily, add new type, and let's just call it rendering. It's a type that we want to use. And so once you set it up in the doc type, just select rendering. That way you could look for all renderings if you want to. Now the next thing is, let's say this is for our job that I set up. Now you have an option to show buyer or not, and when the buyer gets online, which they do have a portal they can get online, you can decide whether they should see this photo or not. And let's just say yes, because that'd be good for them to be able to quickly look at a rendering. And this is not something that's going to be in the plan room, and it doesn't have any sort of cost code attached to it or any particular vendor. If we had selected a vendor, we could elect to show the contact. You can type some notes about this if you like, that it's a rendering of the Loveman 2 house and blah blah blah, but I won't take your time up for that. Let's go over here and take a look at this small URL. This is a small URL that CHS has generated so that you can send a link either in an email or it's going to be in a report, a PDF report that will make it active, part of reports, etc. You can use it all sorts of ways, and you'll see that throughout this video. I'm going to just click the copy icon to copy that small URL to memory, and then I'm going to open another tab in my browser right up here. I'm going to paste it in there, and so let's enter and see what we get. And sure enough, we get this. So you can imagine if you sent this short URL to anybody in an email, to whatever, they can click it and open this particular photo. So that's the handiness of all these short URLs that we're creating. It means that you're able to send it to somebody, they can see the stuff, and it's really handy when you're working on plans. Now I'm going to save all of this that I did and then close this. Now I'd like you to notice that if you click on File Cabinet, you could ask for doc types of rendering and maybe just a particular job to find things in your file cabinet. Or you could search for bills, all bills for a vendor that you've uploaded, all bid requests, all sorts of things. So hopefully you get the idea. You can see that the doc type is rendering, and that's why I got this, and the job code is this. And when you're in the file cabinet, you can edit those tags that you did by clicking the pencil edit icon. Maybe you decide, oh, I don't want to show the buyer, so you uncheck it, or some other things, or I don't like my title. And you can also assign a permission level. If you're doing some higher level accounting things and you don't need, people in the field or whoever that might have a lower permission to see it, you could set this to manager only or controller, and then that level of person would not be able to click to open or edit this file. So that's how that is. You can see that if I reset these and I open the file cabinet, there's all sorts of 509 uploaded files, but then you can use some other search features over here. You can search for your title. Maybe I want to look for rendering again, just because in my title, or framing. Maybe I'll just put framing and see what I get. Part of the word frame. And let's submit a search. You can see that I got a roof framing plan for Loveman 2 and a framing plan for Smith John. Now maybe there would have been other stuff like a framing bill or a framing this and that. It will just find everything that has those letters inside the title. So that's another good reason for you to make a good title when you upload something into CHS. But you can see how quickly I can get things. Maybe I want to see everything for the subcontractor Big Buck that we've gotten, just all over the place. So I'm looking up stuff for Big Buck. Notice there's a waiver of lien type here. There's a PO, bid attachments, other sorts of attachments that went with payables bills, all sorts of things. So that's all about the file cabinets. Now what I'd like to start with is something called the plans room. If you do jobs and you go to the jobs list, you're going to see that attached to each job and our Loveman 2 is something called a plan room, so that you just open it right away. I'm going to open it from another place, an easier place I think to do all sorts of stuff for a job, and that is, do not overlook that there is a jobs dashboard that asks you first for the job, and if I select it, I can do all sorts of things for that job. Now you'll notice right here we have plan room uploads, and I've sort of started uploading some things, but I'm going to upload one more plan just to demonstrate. But I'm going to add an upload to the plan room, and it asks if I want to show the buyer online, and I will continue. And so let's upload a photo or PDF, and I think it's site plan. Let's do that one. Takes a little bit to upload, and then it tells me it's a PDF, so it doesn't show a picture of it. It gave it its small URL. It says plan room upload, but I think I'd like to say site plan Loveman 2 here, and I'll give everybody permission, and I set up a plan type called plan myself, even though CHS is designating right here that yes, this is in the plan room. And it check marks to show the buyer because that's what I did as I came in. So let's save that. And now you can imagine if I copy this short URL and I send it to somebody in email and they click on it, this thing will happen right here. I did a new browser tab, and you can see there's some plans in there, whatever it is, for whatever type deal, and how quickly if you sent that short URL that's now on my clipboard in an email, how neat that would be. Now another really cool thing is this report right here. That is a report of all the plans uploaded. It first opens in a quick HTML web report, and you'll notice these hyperlinks to the small URL are not active. But watch what happens when I do export to PDF. And I'd like to tell you that I have my Firefox browser set up in settings for portable documents to always ask me what to do with it, because I don't want to save it and just have it saved to a download, etc. So I'm getting this neat thing that says open with Adobe Acrobat, because it's just always asking me. So now that it's opened with Adobe Acrobat, one of the really cool things when a PDF is open in something like Adobe Acrobat, etc., is that in the report, if I click this for the appliances schedules, let's say, I can see the appliance schedule. So that's what's so cool about that. If I click something else for roof framing plan or roof finish schedule or diminished floor plan, let's do that one. Some sort of diminished floor plan type deal. See how cool that is that you could send this whole report of all the plans as a PDF to somebody else, and they could open the PDF and just get immediate links to all these plans. So that's a very cool thing. Now that we've talked about plans and plans room, later on I'll talk about how you can drop the short URL into your budget notes or into a bid request, etc., for what they're needing. But let's close this, and I'm going to pause this video and go set up to show you a little bit how you can get to those plans on mobile. The mobile version of CHS that we have, I'm selecting a job, and then I'm going to click on the plans room here, and then I get a list of the plans, and I can click to copy short URL, get a message that I have it, open another browser tab, put it in there, and make sure that that copy of my URL works. I also can open the report that we had on the same other screen, and if I click on one of the short URLs, I can also open a copy of the plans. So you can see how handy that can be out there on your mobile device. Now what I'd like to do back in the full CHS program is go back to the jobs dashboard, select my job, and show you really quickly how you can make use of uploads and how we can get a file cabinet full of things for this job. So I'll be moving really fast, but I did click here to open the job budget worksheet that I've already started, and it is open in a tab here. And I've scrolled down to where slab contract is, and I'm going to click on that. This is not a video about how to do your estimating, it's talking about the uploads. But notice there's a place here to put an attachment. Now if you get a bid request and send it to the budget, you can also upload the bid that you got, and it will show up in your budget line when you say apply it to the budget. But let's just do it ourselves as if we got one in an email or something and saved it on our computer, and it remembers the last folder that I had open here. So let's just upload a bid from Big Buck Construction that does our foundation work for us. So we did, and if we open the file, take a look at it, you can see that it is a proposal, and that it's for revised to $29,992 somehow with crossed out. I don't know why that was, but that's it, $29,992. And I need to get out of all these files, and let's close that. And then of course the other important thing is to do bid from Big Buck for Loveman 2, so we have a meaningful title, and it's okay if everybody sees this, etc. And we won't put it to show the buyer because maybe we're doing a fixed contract and it's not in the plan room, but it has attached slab contract cost code, which means that you can search your file cabinet for all uploads that relate to a certain cost code and perhaps a certain job and cost code. So let's save all of this, close it, and now you'll see that there's a little paperclip icon here. It says if open attachment, and if you do that, you'll see it again, and you can open it in Adobe, etc., etc., etc. So that's how that works, and you see that we have an attachment. Now, the cool thing about it is, you could put, if you're being very open and accountable, I could put a short URL by putting insert file above into my buyer notes. If you're being really open, and then you print a budget proposal for them In the buyer notes that are also printing on that PDF, they could have this short URL link that would open the bid from BidBuck from them when they open their budget proposal in a PDF. So I will submit what I just did in the buyer notes. Just wanted to show you how easy that is. The other thing, maybe just in your internal notes, you want the site plan for whatever reason so that you can quickly grab it. And it's not done in rich HTML, so you need to maybe change the line. Then you could copy this, Control-C, and paste it. But this is how easy it is to insert it here, and now we've uploaded a copy of the bid. I'm going to go here to edit items for budget. And then what I'd like you to notice is that I can put right here bid request and create a bid request right from here by prepare bid requests. I just wanted to show you this. This is sort of ahead of the game here. But you can drop down and select site plan to be included on a bid request. I'll just do one with no quantity so that you can see what will happen. A bid request will open. I could send it to PDF, but I'm going to close this because I know yes, send bid via comments. And I'd like you to notice that right in here it has something called Plan 1, and it has all these symbols, but if you fix it to go to the email and save it and say I do want it to go to Big Buck, etc., so I'm cool, and then I can send it, and you'll see right in here that it's all really nicely cleaned up, and that what you're sending out as a comment or an email to Big Buck is going to have the plans in it when they receive the bid request. So that's cool that we uploaded those and that we have those. I'm going to go back, not going to send that, I'm just going to close that. Means that we have that in comments, and then they can reply to the comment, click on our communication portal, and send us their bid, which is probably how we got the bid that I just used to attach to the budget. So I just wanted to show you that you can use those plans to send out a bid request and how handy that is. So the other thing I'd like to do is let's just pretend like our amount is this, since I forgot to look at what the amount is. And what we'd like to do is add a new PO. Just create a new PO, continue, and we're going to select Big Buck. We could have done it also from the items and created a PO, or from the bids, list of bids, and it would have filled in Big Buck and everything else. I know this amount is wrong, but let's just create the purchase order. Now what I can do here is also upload that bid, but if you had created it from the bid or from some other areas, it might already have the bid attached. But I'm just going to go ahead and put the bid in. Just say bid attached to PO or something, so that it has the word bid, and I'll call this, should have done that over there on the other one, bid from vendor, to give it a type. Save, close. Now you see that there's an attachment, and in here I'm going to put as per attached bid, and I'm going to save this. Let's take a look at that amount on that bid again. Revised, $29,992. Change the amount here to just put quantity 1, unit price $29,992, and make it so that it matches. I'll save this. It will create the PO for that amount. I'll do print store PO. I'll put my signature in, and I'll say I do want that first attachment to be in the PO. And you're going to see right here that there is a link to the attachment, that the PO says as per attached bid, and if somebody opens this as a PDF and clicks this, they'll be able to see the bid attachment, which we're saying as per attached bid. And then if I store a hard copy of the PO, that's going to end up in our file cabinet. And you can see that it says PO hard copy, and if I opened it, you'd see the purchase order. But I want to show you opening all that stuff from the file cabinet. But that's what happened with the PO, and you could have sent a comment out to your vendor, like you saw there, to send the PO to them by saying send the hard copy. It will create a comment. It will include the hard copy of the PO in it. And then if they open the PO as a PDF, they will also be able to drill down to the attached bid. I need to do this pretty fast so I don't make this too long, so let's close the PO. Let's go home now and pretend that we're going to create a bill from purchase orders. So let's just do that because we know we have a purchase order. We have Lubman 2. It's probably about all the purchase orders we have, but I could narrow it down to Big Buck if I want. Let's open this, and what it'll do is open a window that shows all POs and associated costs that have been attached. We only have one PO. This is also a window that the person in the field can come in and check mark that this is approved so that the person creating the bill can see, and the person in the field can write notes about it and they can see that, and they can deduct an amount right here by drilling down on it. But we're just going to create a bill really quickly from this PO. Let's play like we did get a bill in the mail, even though we're doing this from the PO. And we're going to right now ignore all the warnings about insurance expired because that's not what this is about, which means you can deduct insurance, etc. if you like, from Big Buck, or send a comment to Big Buck saying and requesting their insurance certificate, etc. But what I'd like to do is upload an attachment to this bill that I'm about to create. So I can upload, and I have a copy of the invoice from Big Buck now. And I'll say, instead of just payables attachments, I'll just say Big Buck invoice for slab. You can see how Big Buck is attached, Lubman is attached. It's tagging the file of the copy of their bill. And save that, close this, and I submit it, and I take a look at it after I've uploaded it, and I can see that it is a copy of the invoice from Big Buck. So then if I submit this after I've done the attachment, and it's telling me it's over budget because, if you remember, I had a different budget amount there. Continue submit. I'm not going to review that right now because that's not what it's about, but post as unpaid. Close. And close that. Now what I'd like you to see is if I go back to the jobs dashboard, a person in the field can approve posted unpaid job costs, and we've only posted the one that I just posted as an actual job cost. But what they can see is that there's an attachment to that bill so that they could open and look at the bill just like we did over there, but that's because I attached it to that payables bill. They can drill down on that. They can drill down on various things like ECC, where they'll probably see that that amount is over, but you can see how they can get a copy of that bill. So let's just close that. You can see how they could approve this and mark it as OK1, etc. That's all sorts of other videos to let you know about that. Let's do something about actual job costs. Open the actual job cost database. And you see we only have the one actual job cost, but notice how job cost by job then cost with attachments. And you can see right here that you'll see the bill that I entered, and you can see that there's an attachment, and that if you send it to PDF it will become live and they can see a copy of the bill. So what you need to imagine is that there's a whole bunch of bills that have been entered, and there's copies of the bills attached to all of this on one long report with a bunch of your actual job costs, which can be really handy for anybody. Or you could send this report to the big boss to take a look at all the bills, so you don't have to route around all the stacks of bills because you've got them in short URLs in various reports that you can send. It will also show up in a general liability audit report where you're giving the detail of the bills, or perhaps a draw request that you're doing that's a cost plus, and you want to send your home buyer a list of the actual costs because they get to see them in those kinds of things. And they can also print a list of the costs that are being drawn right now. And if you've attached a copy of the bill, it's already there. You can send them the PDF, the home buyer, or they can look at it online and see the copies of the bills if you authorize for them to see those. So you start getting the concept of how useful all those URLs are, and the uploads and the document storage in CHS. So to finalize all of this, let's go back to the file cabinet, open it up, and let's say we just want to see that job Lubman now. and see what we've ended up with in here. And I could have narrowed it down to big buck if I just wanted to see the stuff for big buck, but you can see bid request, bid attached to PO, PO hard copy, you can see the copy of the PO, you can see a copy of the invoice, but you can narrow it down, search for ones for big buck, and you start seeing the whole history, bid from big buck, type things, bid request, bid from, site plan, all the things for Loveman. So I hope that gives you a good idea of the power of the documents in CHS. I can't show you everywhere we can store hard copies of change orders just like we did of the purchase orders. Hard copies of draw requests would show up in the file cabinet, etc., etc. So your file cabinet starts getting full of a whole lot of documents that have been saved and stored. I hope that helps, and thank you for watching.